Hey, what's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to consistently perform the Death Egg 2 trick with Tails. Given that a lot of people wind up getting stuck at the end and soft locking their runs, but this trick actually has no randomness to it. It is 100% execution. So I'm going to be showing you two methods that work very well and are extremely consistent for getting through to the boss safely. But first, I'm going to show you how to do this clip right here to get into the wall. You want to step onto this platform, and there will be a short delay before it starts moving down or up, depending on the point of view. And that'll give you some time to move over to the left and try to get the correct pixel position. If you don't get the correct pixel position and you move out and are ejected in some way, you can just come over here, and this will reset the platform position so you can try again. Unfortunately, sometimes just due to the movement in this game, you wind up overshooting and skipping the pixel that you need to get through. And there we go. This is the correct pixel position. So if you see this, just get used to how it looks. And then you need to make sure that the platform is completely stationary. It needs to have stopped moving already. If you try to zip into the wall before then, you'll actually just get ejected. So once it's stationary, you hold right and you'll get into the wall like that. Next, you need to zip, but not too much, because we want to see this pipe. If we zip too much, we'll wind up in a pocket of air here in the wall and we'll get stuck. And there's no way to get out of this, so that is definitely a soft lock. So I would say just get used to knowing more or less the distance, how much you have to zip before you reach the pipe. But there's also something else you can use. If you look at the very bottom of the screen, there's some graphical tiles that look a certain way, and once you get to around here, there are actually some different tiles. Once you see these, you'll know that you're closer to the pipe. Next, you want to position yourself something like this, so when the pipe is on the far left edge of the screen, you can just do a spin dash and position it like that. And you do have to be facing to the right. That way when you do your spin dash, you actually get a little mini zip to the left. There should be a gap in between the pipe and the left edge of the screen. So once you're in this position, you just jump and let him fall, and he'll land on a spot here. Then just hold right and continue to hold right, and you'll get the level wrap. Now I'm actually going to deliberately mess this up. I'm going to shift the screen to make sure that the screen doesn't lock at the boss, because I want to show you the area that you're going to wind up in, so you know what it looks like and you know what you're dealing with. So this area right here is just kind of barren. There's really nothing here but just like solid floors and walls. However, there is this gap here. There's a gap here, and this kind of ramp. So this is what this area looks like. This is what we're actually working with off screen as the level, as the screen is trying to catch up. And then there's this pipe here and we wind up bumping into it. This thing doesn't work. There's no object here to get transported. So now that you know what this area looks like, there are two methods. One method is once you get zipped out of the wall, and you'll notice this during the level wrap because the screen will actually shift, and if you continue to hold right, most of the time you'll actually hear the break sound effect. You usually get spit out of this wall, and you'll wind up over here on the left side. So you'll just keep holding right, and once the screen shifts, you want to jump and then fly. And you want to time your flight such that you're close to the apex of the jump, but not quite there yet. You want to make sure that when you get your flight, you do not descend at all, because if you do descend, then you'll wind up bumping this wall, and that'll actually change. It'll change when you come over here, which will ultimately determine the Y position of the screen, and that could potentially cause a soft lock. It could mess up your positioning. So we want to hold right, jump, and then fly near the apex of the jump. So we go straight into this tunnel, and we want to just mash flight. And then once we get to like around here, we're just going to use some visual references during the level wrap in order to drop our flight. And if we do it correctly, after dropping the flight, there should be no further input necessary to get into the boss area safely. The other method is to actually wait right here in this spot for a very specific reference during the level wrap, and then we're gonna jump, time our flight exactly the same, and we're gonna just fly straight up. And then we're gonna do the same thing near the end. We're going to use a certain reference to know when to drop our flight, and at the same time we're gonna hold right while we drop the flight. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like during the level wrap. So once the screen shifts and we hear the brake sound effect, we jump, fly near the apex, and what we want to see is the screen stop moving around like a red spring. And this part right here is what we want to look out for. See those rings on the bottom left? And there's a wall to the right of those rings? We want to stop flying when that wall touches the left edge of the screen. If we do that correctly, then we'll see something like this. So again, screen shifts, we can jump and fly once we hear the brake sound effect. Keep mashing flight, drop it there, and there we go. Now there's quite a bit of leeway for this jump, so you can actually delay the jump a little bit too. And the screen will stop moving down after the red spring. And in that case, he actually just goes through instantly. Like such. Now, there's also something else you can do. This isn't strictly necessary, but you can do it as a precaution. Say he doesn't go through instantly, but you're not stuck quite yet. I didn't get it there. I got it the first couple times. You can actually just tap flight once, right when the screen catches up, and Tails will kind of like instantly clip into the boss area. Like that. So I didn't actually have to tap flight at the very end there. I could have just let him fall slowly into the boss area, but just as a precaution, you can wait for the screen to catch up completely, and once it locks, you can tap flight one time, and he'll just instantly clip into the boss area rather than slowly falling down. And that honestly is not really going to do anything if you get the version where he instantly clips into the boss arena. But if I get this version where he doesn't instantly clip and he just like starts to slowly fall inward, you can do that extra flight at the end just for a little extra insurance, but it isn't strictly necessary. It's just to get in faster, just to make sure no funny business happens. Next, the other method we want to use is just stand still. And once we see this object here that's flashing, it'll be extremely obvious. Once it's off screen, that's when we want to jump, and we basically time our flight the same way. But instead of holding right during the flight, we just hold nothing. And then near the end, when we drop the flight, that's when we hold right. And we'll get pretty much the same thing. The idea is we basically want the screen to be in a specific Y position, and that's what makes this trick work. So this method actually has a benefit of basically kind of reducing the inputs. It reduces. First of all, you don't have to worry about your jump timing as much because you have a very clear reference. Um, with the other method, there is some very slight variance depending on what kind of zip speed you get. So not going to go too deeply into it, but when you zip out of a wall, you could have either roughly 16 pixels per frame of speed or 32. Um, and depending on that, it'll change when you bump into the wall on the left. And ultimately, that'll change your acceleration moving to the right for the first method. And if your acceleration is different, um, it's going to change the Y position very slightly once you get out of that tunnel with your flight. Um, the variance is kind of minor, and there is enough leeway in this trick that regardless of which outcome you get, it's still a very consistent method. But the other method where you just wait actually completely avoids that variance. So technically, the second method I showed is actually slightly more consistent because it eliminates that variance. The only variance in that case is your jump timing and your flight timing. There pretty much is no other variance. You don't have to worry about what kind of zip speed you get after. And you don't have to worry about um, any kind of acceleration moving to the right. So yeah, that's the trick. I'm just going to show you those methods one more time, just so you know what to look for. So this is the first method. Once you see that red spring, the screen should stop moving down. Then it starts moving again. And just want to reiterate with this reference here, you should see these rings and that wall on the bottom left. And once you see this, you drop your flight, stop mashing. Just keep holding right during this time because that is a necessity. You do have to hold right. Once the screen catches up, you should see this and it's safe to stop holding right and you can just fall in and you'll be good. Second method, just wait until the screen shifts and stand still. And then once you see this object right here, you wait until it's off screen on the left and then you jump. And then time your flight near the apex of the jump. And then we want to use the same reference here. We see the rings, this part of the wall on the left, drop the flight and hold right. And if he falls like that, just remember that you can tap flight one time and he will instantly appear in the boss area. It's not strictly necessary. You can just let him fall like that, but tapping flight one time will make him instantly appear. And it's not any faster, but you could avoid any funny business. It's just extra insurance, as I said before. So yeah, that's Tails Death Egg 2. I hope you guys found this useful. If you still have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.